We're going to call to order Town of Fontana Dam Town Council meeting for Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. We're going to call to order 5:40. Present, we have Rob Hardy, myself, Tiffany Duke, we have Rachel Wachacha, we have Joshua Grant, Zellery Rogers. We also have Carrie Stewart, kind of back here, our utility director, and then we have Mr. Kevin Hensley behind the camera.
Best place for me.
All right. If there's no adjustments to the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda. I'll make some motion, all in favor.
Aye.
Same deal with the May minutes. I didn't see anything right off the bat, so unless there's any adjustments to be made there, I'm entertaining a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve the May minutes.
Thank you, Tip. All in favor?
Aye.
Cruising on, public comment. I mentioned Kevin's here. Kevin, you got anything you want to comment about?
The Many Faces of Fontana magazine arrived at our press plant on Monday, so we're 2 weeks away from having them in our halls. So I'll have to get them up here as quick as I can.
Wonderful. Very
Yep.
good. That's good to hear.
And I'm hearing that they look really good, so
Awesome.
yeah,
That's good.
excited about it. And once again, appreciate you guys letting us do it because it was a lot of fun to put together, I assure you. Right, Self?
Yeah.
No, legit, it was. I'm a history buff anyway, so this was a lot of fun for me to do this. So, and I hope it benefits Fontana immensely. So,
You told me in the past, like, the material that you borrow, where is that again?
material that I borrowed.
You put it back in a box. It was-
Oh yeah, Zelda
Yeah,
should have
I
it.
told
Yeah,
you
yeah,
that last time.
Yeah.
I told you.
I remember that, but I just couldn't remember.
Yeah, I've got it sitting near my office. Insane.
If it's not, Zelda will beat people up to try to steal it. I promise. So.
All right. So I guess we're gonna have a budget hearing, so take a motion to go into budget hearing.
I put in motion for a budget hearing.
Thanks for that motion, Rachel. All in favor? All right. We're budget hearing. We're gonna talk about final review of the budget for 23-24.
All right, so that should be in your packet there. I know, it's pretty small, but I got glasses, and I'm not sure. But our total budget is,
Well,
our total budget's $159,642.96 for the year. That is, for general operating expenses, and then $79,100 for the, utility fund. So for a total, $238,742.96. When you look at, and the income part, the top part there, and compare it to, last year's budget, you can see how much money that we lost in, the tax revenues, like the sales and tax fees, we budgeted $4,800, we collected $831. That's directly related to the census. So that's a lot of money for a town like Fontana.
have we had any conversation about if there's any other mechanism aside from the census for determining a town's population?
Not after, so many, like, days you can contest it, like right after the census happens.
Right.
But then, at that time, we didn't even know if we're gonna be open, so there wasn't nothing I could do to contest it really, because we didn't know what was gonna happen.
So the official population of a town only changes every 10 years?
Yeah, that's.
So in 5 years, if you doubled your population, you went from 50,000 to 100,000, and you needed more assistance. Mechanisms.
Well, because they're setting their budgets too, so, everything, the money that we get from the state on taxes and stuff is based on the population when they do the census, So it goes for that 10-year span, and then if you have an increase, then you'll get more money for the next 10 years, when your population could drop well below,
Yeah.
So I guess evens out over the long run, but, I mean, I will check in and see if there is anything else that we could do, but from everything that I mean, I know the guy that I have to do, report my information to, I can ask him.
Because you're putting a lot of onus on people to not, just leave their stuff somewhere else. In our situation, I mean, you would think that water billing, if you were billing for more than 12 months on water billing, you would think that's considered a permanent resident, right?
Well, yeah,
Not to mention-
but it's not based on that, it's based on where you have your voter registration at.
Percentage.
So you could live in the town of Fontana for 10 years, but be registered in Graham County and it would not count for Fontana.
Which is, having it tied to voter registration doesn't seem to be, alone seems to, that's
It takes a lot.
not accurate. It seems to be.
Yeah.
So what's the next year that is? Yeah, but when,
It's every
when
day.
is it? When is it?
Well, yeah.
Did
we-
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 23rd.
Yeah, so we're probably off.
I did this census during the pandemic, that's
Okay.
Well,
correct.
that's another thing, yeah, everybody bugged out.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, that's something that really didn't give an accurate count because even some of the people that might have lived here weren't even here during that time, because we didn't know what was gonna happen in Fontana, so.
Yeah.
But anyway, you can definitely see how it did affect us, and there was quite a bit of, revenue loss in that. And so that is, yeah, for, I
What was
know,
it, six grand?
it might be a little bit more than 6 grand actually, because, well, but we'll get some sales and use tax, but, the sales and use tax is based upon, the tax, like, we have to go through and collect that off of our receipts, that are eligible for it, and Will May hasn't got that done yet, so we'll get that, but it'll be in July when we get that, so. That's one reason why I haven't zeroed out, the 22, 23 budgets, because we still have payments that we gotta make that will come in after this, and that, like last year, we balanced and did any kind of budget amendment in July, because then all the June stuff will cycle through and we'll see. We can do the budget amendment then, and whatever, money's just got to be moved or what's gonna be rolled over, but it's gonna be, I mean, I almost think that we could possibly have to draw from our fund balance, to make it, to honor everything that we budgeted last year. And it shouldn't be much, probably 5 grand or something, but still.
It's pretty short.
Huh?
It's pretty short.
Yeah. Yeah, and added to that is the fact that gas over here has been astronomical all year long. I mean, parts of the county and the state has, dropped down to even under $3 a couple times. We've been consistently at $4, so our gas bill tripled this year. So that is also to it. When you talk about the loss of income from taxes and the tripling of the gas bill, that's where, when we had no way to anticipate that, so. Everything else though, I mean, regardless, I mean, we came down a little bit on what we had budgeted the year before, but it's still very similar, so I think, we had 247, 567 for 22, 23. And, this year, it's 238, 742, 96, so we're down 20,000. I mean, that's pretty good. That's the best I can do, But everything's tight, so we're gonna have to really, really, really go right, exact with the budget. It's going to,
Right.
it won't be, there's not a lot of wiggle room at all.
Unless we have to go into the general.
Yeah.
That's
The fund balance, yeah. That would be, the LDC don't like it.
Any questions or comments, concerns on the budget? It's tight, I mean, it's,
It looks like the budget is 1,000 less for gas. Is that anticipating gas going down? Or-
We shouldn't have, I don't think.
which one was that for? Because there's like two gas houses.
Sanitation,
Yeah,
autos and things, gas, that do.
that's the sanitation, yeah. We, found or budgeted in at, what we approved.
You thought the price was.
Yeah, for this year, yeah, so.
Yeah, because the gas the previous year.
Okay, so
Thank
it
you.
was crazy, it looks like
Yeah.
last year, yeah, where.
Yeah, we had the big chunk that we spent
Yeah,
on the
that's
light
big
truck.
$20.
Yeah. So, yeah, that, when you look at the, what we budgeted the year before, and what we budgeted this year, it's a little bit more, and it might still not work out, but a lot of the budgets are based on the hope.
We got the general fund for the.
Yeah,
fund,
yeah.
Fund, I think we tried.
So, with this being said, we have to approve the budget ordinance, so, and it just is very, I mean, it's more verbiage than anything, but the following amounts are hereby appropriated in the general fund for the operation of the town government and its activities for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, and June 30th, 2024, in accordance with the chart of accounts heretofore established for this town. So, and then it breaks it down into some expenses. So administrative expenses at $66,387.48. Professional services, which is Will and A, and our QuickBooks and our payroll. So that had to go up because we had been using QuickBooks Online, and the introductory price was half off, so that now is full price on that. So there's 13,000 budgeted for that. Contract services, $10,000. Excuse me, let me back up. Professional services is like, when we do our audit, it's for the lawyer, it's for election costs, those kind of things, and that's what the 13,000 is for. We have an election, is that coming up this year? So that will come out of that as well, it costs on that. Contract services is 10,000, that's Will May and QuickBooks and payroll. The government body expenses is you guys, and that's $14,796. The street maintenance is Powellville, and that was 6,000. And then our general maintenance sanitation, which is David pretty much, and that was $49,459.48. So that's how we come up with a total of $159,642.96. And then it's estimated the following revenues will be available in the general fund for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2024. The town's assessed tax rate remains the same as last year at 0.554 cents per $1,000 value. So our ad valorem tax, because we cannot, we only can put what we collected last year. So it's at 947.96. So we can't include the one that hasn't paid. User fees are $150,000. Pilt money, $80. Tax refunds, and this is the motor sales and franchise, 2,115, whereas last year, it was closer to 6,000 for all of that. But the Powell bill, 6,500. Total expected income matches what the top is, and then over here is utility fund expenses, and at 79,100, and so 73,100 of it is from billing Fontana, and then 6,000 of it is from the water bills. So 79,100 is the expected. So,
Questions?
Yeah, is there an extra copy that I can look at? Because I haven't even seen this yet.
I will.
Like an extra one. Yeah.
I can give you a copy of it if you will. Anybody else?
All right. If there's no other questions?
Still,
Right, just
look
look
at
at
all of it, yeah.
So pretty much, it's very similar to how we've done it most every year. Every year we kind of learn a little bit more, tweak a little bit more, shave a little bit more fat off, reallocate. And then we had this census thing come into play, we had that situation come into play. Ideally, we'd like to maybe try to move in a different direction on part of gas and utility, sanitation. Possibly look at an electric vehicle. They don't seem to be quite be there. Then we've also been talking about some other possibilities, depending on what happens with the trash situation. There's been some rumblings that the county may do some pretty drastic changes. I'm not gonna really get into that because that's probably premature at this point, but if we were to shift gears pretty significantly and not be able to carry our garbage close by and we had to haul it further away, we might have to look at the possibility of an actual garbage truck and be able to, go around, collect it, and then drive to whatever dump we're gonna be dropping it at. I don't really know the logistics, but it wouldn't be a pickup truck that we'd be looking at that point.
Garbage truck.
Yeah, we'd be looking at a full-on garbage truck of some type.
With those big triple size dumpsters that they have, they pull in for construction, would those be feasible for?
I don't know. I mean, we're not really there. I think where we need to be,
Horses for the car.
well, yeah, where we need to get to first, we need to actually, instead of hearing about things that are possibly gonna happen, it'd be nice to have some conversation with those that are talking about that.
Well, but they're wanting to change the course of how we operate.
We're willing to talk, we're willing to have conversation, we don't wanna create problems, and we're here to try to resolve problems. That's the goal. So, with all that in mind, we're looking at adoption of this budget. If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to pass the 23-24 budget as proposed.
I put in a motion to pass the 23-24 budget as proposed.
Rachel makes that motion. All in favor? All right, we have a budget for next year.
What?
If that emergency, what's the emergency funding, what would that be?
Emergency fund?
Yeah, I mean,
We
like,
don't
what-
really have-
General funds?
yeah, I mean, is that,
That's
Well, we're talking about the fund balance, I think is what he's talking about, and that's not
if
really,
those unexpected crazy expenses do come up, where do we pull that from?
we have a fund balance, because we have we have $173,000 in the bank, so with that, now some of that is restricted funds, some of that's in Powell bill, some of it's in the electrical fund. But it's still, our fund balance is, you're required to keep 15%, I think it is, for the chain loans, our fund balance, so we got way more than that, so,
I was wondering what percentage was.
yeah, we would pull from that.
Probably around 100% right now, depending on.
And when I get the budget, or not the budget, the audit back, then everybody will get a copy of that. And so you'll be able to see where we are, and since it's last year at least.
When does that normally happen?
Well, it should have happened already, but they were way behind too, so.
All right.
So
Cool,
it's-
cool,
yeah,
cool.
they've been emailing me and we've been working on it, so hopefully they'll close.
Good deal.
Um,
And if you have any other questions, you can always come by and ask me too,
Yeah.
about stuff.
Yeah, I wish I had more free time to do that.
Yeah, I know.
All right,
Yeah.
so what about the tax rate of 0.554?
Well, we just have to approve that.
Right.
Yeah, because I've got to send that into,
Is that the same one as last year?
Yeah, it's the same as last
So
year.
status quo, we're maintaining the same millage rate on property tax.
And that's where that amount of, the, ad valorem tax of 947 is based on this, 0.554.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve that tax rate of 0.554 for the 23-24 budget year.
I make a motion to approve the tax rate for 23-24.
Of 0.554.
0.554.
Thank you, Tiff. All in favor?
Aye.
Roger that. Carries. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to take us out of the budget here. Who wants to do that?
I will make a motion to take it out.
Thank you, Josh. All in favor? All kinds of motions. All right, so we're back to our normal meeting, and we're back to discussion items, which usually means Ms. Carrie Stewart can tell us about some water and wastewater.
Okay, we had our state inspection yesterday. Everything seemed to go well. A few little, things we might have to tweak, but it's not, she'll send a letter out, probably get it in a couple of weeks to,
One of the things that she mentioned was that they would really like for us to get a pump at the intermediate tank, and not just another, which all we do have is just a motor.
oh,
We don't-
really?
Yeah, we don't have the complete pump. Cause when we had the problem before, we ordered the pump, or the motor for it.
Yeah,
And then put that in and then have the other motor fixed. So we have it ready to go, if something happened to that. But we don't have a complete pump.
okay, well, they're recommending, I mean, they make,
You
they're,
never get clean bill out.
yeah, I mean, yeah, so, but they want us to have a spare pump up there where we can pump to the village tank if something happens to the pump we're using. And I mean, that's happened before. It was pretty close, but they were able to get a replacement pretty quickly.
Mhm.
And we didn't lose water. I mean, we almost lost all the water in the tank, but we didn't.
So remind me, there were 2 pumps up there.
There's 2 pumps up there. One pump, I think it's 350 gallons a minute, the one we're using right now, that'll get water up to the village tank. And then there's a smaller pump in there. That was, I guess when we built the new water plant, they put that in.
No, that one's been there. That was an old one that used to be that it, and a smaller pump was there that pumped the water up between, it took both of them to pump it up to the.
Yeah, well, they took out that old blue one that was the big pump, and this is a smaller pump. But anyway, it will not get water up to the village tank. It's just not
Gotcha.
strong enough.
Gotcha.
It'll keep the lines full, and then you start slowly losing your tank.
I
I mean,
see.
it's not,
I see.
and so they want us to have a pump big enough where if something happened to the pump we're using, we can
We can
just
just switch
switch
it over.
So
over.
ideally, if you could replace that one with a pump of similar size or the exact size of the one we got,
Yeah,
we could just
we wouldn't want
switch.
anything, we wouldn't want anything smaller than what we're using.
maybe even,
Probably not bigger either, because the lines are so fragile.
yeah, you
Right.
don't want, yeah.
Well, and
overpressure.
it would, and we wouldn't even, we wouldn't have to buy the whole thing if we could just buy
We
the
need
pump
the,
part, because we
yeah,
have a motor.
the shaft and the impeller and all that stuff.
With the improvements that we've got, hopefully coming down the pipe, hopefully maybe we can make that a part of that one of those packages sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we got that pump that we got, was when we built the water plant, we did some, adjustments on the budget and, was able to get that pump, so maybe we can do that.
So was that a recommendation? Is there a deadline?
It's a recommendation, but they usually want stuff like that pretty quickly. But I mean, it's,
Within a
we're
year?
not like, we don't, yeah.
It's pretty quickly within a year for us?
But that is till the next inspection.
Okay.
So, yeah, year.
And the other thing is we need to put a meter at the marina, probably at the bathrooms with the marina.
Marina meter?
Yeah,
We want to try to figure
that
out,
needs to be
And then
done.
she also won a check valve or something.
Yeah, we need a check valve, a double check valve or something.
and check.
That needs to be done.
A backflow valve, that's what she said.
Yeah, well, either, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, let's be really hard for water to come back up that thing.
Can,
Or in the bathrooms there.
well, it's from the bathrooms, it pretty much, that's all the marina and everything.
Yeah, so, and that needs to happen
Immediately.
pretty soon, yeah.
Yeah, because I know we talked about that a while back and it was a point of concern and then it kind of wasn't, but now it is.
Oh, yeah.
So.
She knows all about
Well,
it.
and when here's what, I told Jeff about that we've got to do this, and he's like, well, are you gonna hire somebody to come in and put those in?
If you can't do it, I guess that's the only option.
Well, I think it's more about not doing it, that's your only option.
Well,
It's not that big a deal. It's a new line up there from
You
the,
know how to do it?
from,
Well, when we're talking about putting meters on everything,
yeah, well, if we do that, but that's got to be done before we try to.
so well, the first thing is we need to probably find the check valve and the meter that we want first. And do you have a line on that or?
I've told Dennis I mean, he's distribution, it really, I mean,
So spec it, get him to spec it
I
out.
told him to find the valve we need, the check valve, the backflow preventer, whatever he wants to put on it in a meter, and I've told him to find that, so.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get that purchased and we'll at least get it here and then we can talk about who's gonna install it.
Yeah, so, yeah, if you don't mind, get on him again and say, we should do this.
Please.
So, but
Right on
she brought a guy, Kristen from infrastructure, water infrastructure, and he had some, pulled some maps and stuff, and he had some really good ideas about where we could put meters in the system to kind of find the problem areas and then kind of be able to block places off, and then if that meter starts, if we do have water, start losing water, we can just go through and check the meters, and if they're really spinning, we can that's gonna be in that area.
So with installing a meter, does that pretty much mean we have to cut the line, install it in line, or is there something less invasive? if we
No, it's
install
gotta
it?
be, it'll-
So if we do a meter, we can potentially also install a valve.
absolutely.
So that would be, meters and valves would go a long way. But I guess the other question is if we're looking to eventually, in the not too distant future, replace everything, then that might be redundant. And
I would wait before,
we got to find out what the intentions are
right.
before we.
If we get that grant, and I asked Chris, I said, if we get the grant where we can get some new water lines, then could you come out and be available to help us? And he said he would.
Okay.
So, that would be a big help to us to figure out then, okay, we need to put a meter here, we need to, check out that, we need to do this here and here, because he would know.
Because for a time, we may have a hodgepodge, and we may want to start with some of the, well, I don't really know how you want to proceed with it. I mean, you would think you'd want to kind of just work it in a logical fashion. What that logic is, I guess, is the question.
See, and I also don't know if that, because the money that we got, I don't think it's gonna replace all of our lines. I don't know if that, I mean, to me, I think what they're wanting to replace is the trunk line, but there's a lot of other lines that we have issues with.
Yeah, and he said that he could come in and like they could figure out where our problem, what we need to focus on and stuff.
Yeah.
But when we do put in the new lines and stuff, we need to make sure that we install cutoff valves.
Absolutely.
So we can isolate, if we do have a leak, we can cut, the whole village wouldn't be affected. We could do it and,
Right.
Until
You
it
don't have
got
to shut
repaired.
everything down. You can just shut a section.
the section where the problem is off, and then, the rest of the village, would have water.
Because they're not gonna lift that, we cannot do any additional building of anything until we get these lines taken care of. But there was a couple of things that she said that she was gonna look at, so we wouldn't have to do any more testing lines.
Yes, we have been, she has no idea, and it's been like this since I've been over here. We do lead and copper in the cabins and the lodge and stuff like that. That's required. But we've been having to pull a lead and copper on our source water, which is, it's unheard of.
Yeah.
And then we've got some water quality parameters that we do twice a month. And that was all, she's gonna try to get that lifted because that was based back when they were having to do lead and copper every 6 months. And they had the old water plant and it was corrosion control.
Right.
And so they were checking the alkalinity and the pH and the temperature and all that stuff.
The incoming.
Yes, it's source water.
Yeah, source water.
Um,
Gotcha.
twice a month. So we feed a phosphate down there that takes care of our corrosion control. And we've not had a lead and copper hit since we've started feeding that.
Gotcha.
So that's taking care of the problem.
And that will reduce some of our costs because we don't have to do those tests too, because our day and like any place else has gone up considerably on what we have to pay them every month, so.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to eliminate things that wouldn't necessarily be required of us right now. But we can't just stop doing it or we'll be out of compliance.
She's
And then I also-
changed the compliance ask there.
Yeah.
Chris, the guy that was with her works for Daimler, and I asked him about, to keep us in mind if, any kind of grant opportunities that, because he seemed to think there might be some that we'd be eligible for, so.
Maybe.
This could be a good working relationship.
September, October, there might be some
Yeah.
when they start renewing, so that would be
If
awesome.
we could ever get our distribution system and our collection system in order, I think we'd dive on ahead.
Yeah, was definitely.
But the inspection, I don't expect everything was in order and stuff, just a few minor, but they're not gonna I don't think they're ever
I
gonna
don't
give
think
anybody
everything's
like a
perfect. They're not
perfect
gonna
score.
say
I mean,
it's
they're gonna
perfect.
find, and like she suggested some updates to our turbine emitters down there, but it's not a requirement. It's just like they're obsolete, like getting parts. That's like one of those things as they go bad, replace it kind of thing that we don't have to replace it right now.
Right.
Well, and that was also one of the things when we got, about, when it depreciates and having stuff to replace these parts and, which we've never really done because we didn't have the money to do it. We still don't have the money to do it, but anyway, these are things that are eventually will wear out, will have to be replaced, so.
And I've got dealer system. I just did this because it's kind of crazy how much water loss we're working at 70% water loss. And I pulled these numbers. I went through and pulled the reports for 2022 and so far in 2023. And the total water that we produced in 2022 was 66,686 gallons. If you figure water loss, at a 70% water loss, and this is just estimated because we're not metered, but we use like a standard for commercial connections and residential connections. And if you figure the 70% water loss, you're at 46,680,000 gallons lost. And 30% usage was 20 million for the year. So, I mean, and if you estimate daily, how much we're losing daily, I just averaged everything out. We lose 127,891 gallons a day. And we're using what would be estimated usage, it's 54,811. I mean, that's just the whole year. I mean, it's going to obviously go up in the summer, fall, when we're busy, and then in the winter, it's going to, but that's the average. And then we, the daily hours that we operate the plant, right now is an average of 10.94 hours a day. That's out throughout the year. If you take 70% of that away, that's 7.6 hours of lost time that we're just pumping water, It should take us around 3.5 hours to fill this place up a day if we just used it, if we didn't have all the leaks we did.
Right. If we were assuming normal loss, which is a normal loss, like say.
It's from 5 to 15% is what they consider normal.
There you go.
So, I mean, like a long day would be 6 hours pumping.
Yeah.
And we can pump almost 20,000 gallons an hour from the plant down there up to the intermediate tank to the village tank.
We got our work cut out for us.
And it's so far in 2023, it's the same thing. Like, around 3 hours, 7 hours is, just because of our water loss. So I made the chart just to kind of see. I mean, it's kind of, I mean, I did really bad. Yeah. Y'all you can make copies of it if you want to. And then I did on like the chemicals. We spent last year, this is the budget year from July to June, $15,908 in chemicals. If you figured that 70% of that is lost, that's $11,135.91 in lost chemicals. So really, it should took us about $4,700, $4,800
A year?
Yes.
And that's just the chemicals.
And then like lab supplies, like if we were able to cut down on some of that, like we wouldn't have to use stuff. There's tests that we do down there every day, every 3-4 hours. If you cut down runtime, you're going to cut down your test stuff. So Zellery gave me what we had spent, but I just pulled part of the numbers that were spent in lab supplies, because some of them can't change. It's just, you have to do it every day anyway.
Right.
But there's like 3750 that was just, lost. It should take us about 1,600.
And then you get to the.
And the total on the supplies was 53, 55, 52. So it's kind of, I mean, when you put it on.
So when y'all add it all together, what are we looking at?
And how much it should cost is about $6,000, and we spent almost 21,000.
And then there's the labor.
Oh yeah, I've got that on here too.
That, it's, I mean, that probably is where we're spending the most, really, and where we could probably save the most. Fortunately, that would mean that, we might be having to cut back on, the number of operators we might have, so on and so forth, which is not.
Well, Denison would still be with that wastewater.
It's upside downside, yeah.
Yeah, but like when Sal asked me to do this and stuff, and I mean, I knew it was bad, but I didn't realize that it was.
When you quantify
When
it,
you
go,
look at
wow.
it, I'm like, look at the
No,
paper.
numbers are telling. I mean, you're talking like, you're down there.
I mean, if
What was it you said, 3.5 versus 10? You're down there, what's that, nearly 4 times longer?
But
than it should be?
right now,
3, 4
we're
times
running,
longer.
no less than 12, well, right at 12 hours, anywhere to 14 hours is what we're having to run right now.
Good Lord.
Sometimes longer than that, just depends on how busy the village is and what's going on and stuff. But
I still don't understand why we can't find any leaks to attribute to that, though. I mean, it makes no sense to me that we have such a huge water loss and we cannot find them with everything that we've had and everybody we've thrown out. And all of the people that have walked these lines.
like for 2023, I just did it through May. That's the reports that I had done. Like we've already produced 27,409 gallons this year. 19,186 of that is water loss or unaccounted for.
So it's definitely imperative, number one, to figure out what we can do, given the money that we've got. I think, coming up and kind of get with the resort get an idea of what their thought process is. Make sure we get on the same page, develop a plan and implement this, or else we're gonna be having the same conversation again next year, which would be unfortunate.
Well, that was our goal, was
Yeah.
that, and during this conversation that maybe that with Robin, that we could present this, because, you know, his thing is how you gonna save your money. Well, this is how we would save your money, you know.
So, but I just, thought y'all might be interested.
Thank you. And I think, numbers don't lie.
Well,
Yeah.
You gotta do a short-term investment for long-term results, and I mean, that's the perfect example for that. It's never gonna get fixed unless you fix it.
And I think if it's,
Right.
She got started
Yeah.
around zero.
And like, I
Yeah.
mean, there's no expanding, they're not gonna let us add any kind of water taps or
No.
anything like this.
No, I'm saying-
Anything like new stuff, I mean, it has to be approved by the state, so, I mean, they're not gonna.
the
And I
problem,
still don't even know for sure if they are aware that they can't just willy-nilly go in here and start building things.
the problem is generally known, but we have to really get down to, more specific planning, here's the problem, here's the quantification of it. And then, what is the plan for addressing this, And, hopefully this all season, there will be some action done,
Well, if we get this grant, there will be a definite start in it, and my hope is that by then that we can show him these numbers and that not only will he continue with whatever that grant is meant to pay for, but that we could redo the whole thing and we've got somebody.
And there's other money that's, there's, what has been committed on their side. There is like a pot of money that was allocated by the TVA as far as utility improvements, that, are just general maintenance and whatnot, because, anyway, we're hoping to have a conversation, I think, next week.
And it's like the water plant, this is another thing too, is we're ready, we can produce 500,000 gallons a day, no more than that, I mean, that's the max. The closer the state, when I start sending my reporting and stuff, and we're close to that max a day,
Yeah.
you can only do that so many days a year, and they're gonna make you start planning for an expansion.
Gotcha. So like, if we're averaging, 250, 300 a day now?
We're all right, but the closer we get to that 500,000,
You start creeping into the 400 neighborhood, now they're gonna start saying.
they're gonna say, because you need to be able to, for,
20%.
Well, and I don't think that water supply plan, I don't think we pass that if we go up any more in water loss. I mean, because I know one time that Dennis filled it out and it was like 80-some%, and they wouldn't accept it, so.
oh yeah, I mean, here's the plan, you can pull, I mean, this is online, you can pull it up, y'all can have this copy of it too, but you can see like where I put that we don't have meters and stuff and the connections and stuff, I mean, I've had to put explanations, and they call me every time I've done one of these for Fontana, because they can't believe it. When it pops up 70% water loss, like, you're doing, I have to explain to them, and they approve it when they when they realize the
Right.
situation.
Well, we're concerned about even opening up the ground around a line. I mean, you start poking around on a line that was installed in the 40s, it may just fall apart.
And on-
Play five.
And on those maps yesterday, it was from the 40s, so when it says, there's still lines. I don't know how many's been replaced and stuff, but they should, I mean, they're not gonna be like concrete much, like crumble up on you. But, yeah.
You're concerned, or, you're trying to fix a problem, but you could make it an even larger problem, and you don't want to do that in the middle of the season, for sure.
For sure. And then Chris said, there was some concern about where we capped that line, that maybe it caused another blowout, but Chris, he says he didn't, that's not gonna like blow out a city, just because you're capping that line, it's not gonna create enough pressure where it's just gonna blow the line apart.
Yeah, well, we've had people say that before. And then
They
they
said
say,
that,
no.
I'm down at this water
Yeah,
plant,
I
turning
mean,
up the pressure.
It's gonna happen. It's
Blow
gonna
the
happen.
apart.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I wish I could do that, but I can't. I can't, that pump.
Turn it up to 11.
Yeah, that
Didn't,
pump
didn't
gets pumped so
Jason,
much.
didn't Jason kind of get in on that when he put both pumps on, that little pump?
That's kind of.
Yeah, I made that abundantly clear when they put that big pump in, because I was here when they installed that, because we used to have that, it was a little blue pump. I mean, it's a pretty good pump, but it was a different style of pump than what we had, and we put this new one in. Because we used to run 2 cups together, and we're like, you can do one or the other, but you turn both on, and nobody wants to find out what's gonna happen.
Well, that was.
They
just
found
like,
out.
You know, that's just like, oh, okay, so that means I should go turn them both on.
Nope.
They
Nobody
found out.
wants to find out what would happen.
I'll say that.
Did we blow Brandon?
That was the thinking, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fontana would just collapse.
There's a pressure reducer valve up there in the, after it comes out of the intermediate pump station. I mean, there's a pressure valve.
Assuming
Pressure.
it's working, I suppose, right?
Speaking
we
of which,
know
tell
it's
them about
not.
the clear well,
Do what?
the clear well, that we must have something going on because it's built.
Oh, yeah, there, I've asked, but I'm gonna have to ask again. I pulled the maps for where they built the water plant to find it, because I knew they had to get our check valve. Because our intermediate tank, we're losing out of that. But it's backfilling the clear well of a night, like after we shut down, because the water plant, we leave it around 15 feet. 15.3, it cuts off automatically. That's when it's saying the clear well's full. Well, you can leave it at 15, 15.3, whatever. And the next morning you come in and it's at 1610, the level. Well, the first time it happened, I thought, well, shoot, something's happened to the filters and it's drained all the water. No, the water is on top of the filters. So it's got to be backflowing. And there's a check valve outside in the front there, next to the road.
Mhm.
I mean, there's got to be some kind of malfunction with it. It's not closing all the way. There's debris, something's wrong with it.
But it's always the same amount, so once it gets up to that level, then it must be the pressure gets.
The pressure must change. I don't know what is happening, but it's so strange. But it's always 1610. So that's part of the intermediate problem. It's not a whole lot. I mean, that's just the foot water coming back down.
Right.
It's just, I mean, it's enough to make a difference, but.
But we're coming from, when it's full, it's 20,000 gallons down to about 5,000 gallons when you come back in the next day, right?
Let's see, I'll tell you. I mean, I can't do math in my head right now. It's been a long day.
Oh, I see. So,
Yeah, it's about 1,100. There's the tank goes to 18 feet. It's full, a little over 18 feet, but it's about 1,100 gallons a foot. So we're losing. It's down to this morning. It was I think 6 feet, and most of the time it's around 5.5, 6 feet in the morning, and we leave it full of the evening. And it
So-
only feeds the bottom of the dam and the water plant and the sewer plant.
so if if the clear well goes up about 1.5 feet to almost 2 feet, that will translate into roughly
Probably.
about a 10-foot drop up there or more.
It's hard to say because.
Yeah, but I mean, roughly speaking,
Yeah.
the volume of the intermediate tank is smaller than the volume that you're filling up
Yeah,
down there.
I
So
mean,
you
usually,
don't
like it
see
used to
that.
be normally, we just lose limit of 3, 4 when there's nothing going on. But I know there's a leak off that intermediate tank too, but it's just a hard fix. It's not a significant leak, but I mean, I know there's a leak there too. So,
Does it feed does that intermediate tank fill the
Oh,
top of the dam?
no,
No, that's
No.
the bottom.
That's the bottom.
but, and the campground. Right,
Yeah,
it
you
feeds it, yeah,
and, the water.
Yeah, the top of the dam and the marina are on the same,
on the village. tank.
Yeah.
As far as I know, that's what happened.
which is kind of crazy that
This whole, the way it's just, it confuses me.
and when it comes time to actually doing some work, I think trying to possibly replumb it would
Yeah, from-
probably be in order to.
From my understanding, it comes from the intermediate paper. We got that pump on down the side of 28 to the pit stop and starts filling the lines all through the village, and then it goes up to the village.
Yeah, it's like an overflow flow, which.
And then, we cut that pump off, it's gravity fed back down.
Like
and
that,
that's
but it goes through the same system.
Which ideally, I think you'd want it kind of the opposite. You'd want to pump it to the tank, right?
what they-
And then you let the tank do all the work, pretty much, right? I mean, that's. So I don't know why they did it that way. I wish we could talk to somebody out there in the, TVA historian land.
Yeah, I don't know, the TVA put that pump in there, doesn't it?
No, I'm talking about the general design
Oh,
of
of
the
it.
water system and why it was designed to be kind of an overflow push system as opposed to kind of go from the top, a top.
Do you
down
think it was
system.
originally done like that?
I think it had.
I think
And it was likely the topography, I mean, the way,
I mean, on those maps and stuff, it looks like, I mean, it's hard to read on. They're kind of, but it looks like there used to be booster pumps throughout the system, maybe.
there did, I think, you're right. I remember looking at that a long time ago. So,
Yeah.
it's just,
I guess as long as like like it's pumps approved and stuff, and they got stronger pump, up there that they didn't need the.
Hydraulics in the
And then there was
forties.
a whole, I mean, there were a whole lot more cabins and buildings and stuff back then too.
Hydraulics in the seventies and eighties and now the 2020s.
Yes.
All right.
Well, that's all I got, unless you have any questions.
Any questions from you guys about anything? We gotta figure out a way to stop losing all this dang water, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
And
Yeah,
then,
I'll leave this with you if you want it.
yeah,
The numbers.
Thank
You make stuff, copies.
Did you guys ever get the, the reader or whatever from Robbinsville where you're gonna drop it in the lines and try to, they have that little device, you can drop in and like go through the lines.
Oh, so map in your lines? No, we never have approached them. I know Santila did that.
Yeah, but I'm saying like that could help you find leaks too, probably.
Well, maybe it could.
Yeah.
I definitely want to make sure if we put in new lines, that we're mapping them.
Oh, yeah, we have, that's a must, Nicole,
Yeah.
I'm like, like,
You gotta have that map.
we didn't do.
I don't know, do we
What-
have to do that? We have to have some kind of system in place, the map lines when,
All I think was when the engineer comes in and, because you'll have to have engineer approval,
Right.
that they'll come in and we'll have their,
They'll map
the as,
lines.
the draw, where they have the as builds, where they do the
Right.
drawing and stuff and like come up with the plan, where to put meters and valves.
Yep.
And we'll have all that. And then as it changes through, like, as the new, gets older and stuff, if we have to add, we'll add, be sure we map it. And if we have to do any repairs, I mean, I think it's a pretty good idea just to mark like where you've done the repairs and stuff, keep a log of where
And
repairs
that's
are done.
probably why we need to be having some conversation in developing this plan. Developing this plan could be a bit complicated depending on how we're gonna do it. If we're just gonna go in and just take it up and replace it and use the existing system and the design and everything, then it's not as difficult, you still gotta analyze where do we want valves, where do we want meters. But if you wanna redesign the general hydraulics of it, because
And we need
it's
to,
antiquated design.
like if we're just replacing the way it is now, we need to make sure, because that where the old lines used to be and stuff, that they're not just out there running, underground in the woods somewhere. Just,
Yeah.
Yeah, just.
what was it that Chris said? That some kind of hydraulic or some kind of evaluation like?
Yeah, a model of like, they could come in and like determine our problem areas and stuff. And we just need to make sure that, we're not replacing stuff, but we're not fixing the problem. You know what I mean? Like, we're not
Right.
capping places that there's no connection. I mean, it's just, there and it's not being capped or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they could certainly be a resource in, either the development of a plan,
He is the guy that I tried to get before we hired Jason.
Okay,
Yeah. Nicole gave me his name. And
gotcha.
remember when
Yeah.
I was talking about him, that is the same guy.
Okay.
And now he works for Deaver, so.
Yeah, he's in water infrastructure division.
Well, I mean, I think it's worth having some conversation with them. If we've got something we can present to FER and, say we're looking at going in this direction, are we on the same page or are we on a different page? That's.
And then, and then if the grant doesn't come through for some reason, then we could look at mapping what we've got, like find the lines that we have now and maybe able to find some leaks like, like.
Yeah,
maybe
then
they
we
could-
might try to get that from Robbinsville and read that.
They've like and they've got like a leak detector. We could get raw water to come in and stuff, but we could see where, because I'm sure I'm sure they know where, some lines are, but
Helping us
How many
determine
lines
where
do you-
that is now would be nice, and also asking their opinion about if there were some things you would change about this, how would you, in an ideal world, bang for the buck sort of, considering cost, how would you rework this system?
and then like if we did map the system like the, with the old system stuff, be able to find some lines and stuff, then you would, when we're looking for these leaks, you're gonna know where the line is. If, you could actually walk the lines and you maybe find something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Chris would be a good resource for asking those kind of questions. If
Yeah,
we
he
could
is-
actually redo this to where it'd be more efficient
Right.
and operate more, better, then what would you recommend?
Well, I mean,
I think it would be very.
There's
He was
whole
very
chunks
helpful
that we
yesterday.
aren't using, so the next question is, what is the future intention? Are they planning on trying to start using some of these areas that are currently offline? That's where really having that conversation with FER also, and there's a number of things we need to have a discussion about.
Yeah, I mean, because, if they want to expand, we're gonna have to, there's gonna have
You gotta
to,
plan for it.
there's
Yeah.
gonna have to be some, I mean, before they can expand, we're gonna have to get control of this.
Right.
Because it's not gonna,
No,
And we don't
that's
just want to
good.
cap off a
we can't,
section.
like, we can't just go out here and just start, teeing off these lines and, adding more connections and stuff. I mean, you have to have approval when you start going and making big changes like that from the state.
Absolutely.
I'd say even when we talked about putting in like a car wash over here station, like one that, like, that you use a wand with and stuff, we would have to get approval of it. We couldn't just do that.
Yeah.
Anything that's when we got that high water loss, if we're adding anything else to it, the state's gonna have to approve it until we can get beyond that.
Well, I'm gonna go
Thank you.
eating.
Thank you.
Any questions? You know where I'm at.
Appreciate it. All righty.
Yeah.
I mean, it's where we've been for the last few years, we got us a nice water plant and now we're in a position to.
General, our maintenance crew is so short staffed, they call feet, they don't have mows, wow, so they are short, two maintenance guys, and,
So you guys going to?
yeah, so we can, even if I don't, it's not the word, it's been weeks before they can do anything.
I know, we have a leak in the mentor, the water's running out of the back and dripping out of the back. And it's slow enough to where it's not puddling up, but it's saturating the ground.
Oh.
And I've turned it in twice, I've called it in, so, nobody's come down to fix it.
Just eat. I guess we just put it on the.
Well, I told David to, talk to Jeff personally, so. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move to the financials now?
Well,
Or do you wanna talk anything more about?
well, no, I don't think that, no, I think I pretty much covered everything on that, so, already. I did not include in this $173,000, I didn't put down the utility fund account, which is like 43,000 something, so I forgot to get that number down, just so you guys know, there's about 43,000 in the end.
That's, all right, so on the,
Okay, these resolutions are next, I guess. Well, unless you just, we looked kind of at the budget there at the very end one, to where you can see kind of where we're at. But until I can, get the June payments in there and zero everything out and do the budget.
So, yeah.
It's kind of like all gibberish. but-
so we expected a budget amendment that we'll be doing to close things out.
Yeah, at the next meeting, yeah, I'll give that to you. It probably is not gonna be so much about the utility fund, because that's always just a direct bill, but everything else, will either be zeroed out, or we'll have to do an amendment to pay for it, so. And so the resolutions, and I know one of these we'd signed before, but I had to make some changes in it, so this is both, one is for, the resolution for approving a local water supply plan, which I think is the one that we signed before. And then the other one is a resolution for approving water shortage response plan. So we've got a water shortage response plan in place. So like if we do start, say that pump down there goes out, and it's gonna take a couple hours before you never know what's gonna happen. And putting the new pump back in, we would implement the water shortage response plan. And there's 4 different stages to that. Remember when we created it out? And if anybody ever wants to look at that, I'll be happy to show you a copy of it. But it basically, there's stage 1, which is like, don't, like, water your yard or wash your car, or, stage 2, cut back on your laundry, make sure, that you're conservative on things. Like that one year that we had Mini Coopers here, and, the whole system, remember, that's when that pump went out, actually. And Mini Coopers were washing their cars all over the village. And then, within hours, everybody had to leave because we had no water and no way to get it. Nothing, if that pump was blown, so. Right, it was a pump, right? I think so, yeah, so. Anyway, we have to pass a resolution every year.
It went out, and then what we have remaining they just,
Oh, they.
basically just, hey.
Well, remember, yeah, they were washing their car, and it was during a storm too, they had a big storm that blew a bunch of trees down. But, we had, Graham County bought over a pump for us, but it only got it up to Greg's house there, going up the hill on a hillside, so it didn't go up any further down, so it wasn't getting it up. And then the electricity went out too, remember? Yeah, so they had that, and there was a lot going on at that day. So these have to be, approved every year anyway, so, a resolution has to be passed on them every year. And it has to be redone, so that's what these are. And I will hand them to you, because everyone's got to sign them. And then, of course, we gotta get approval. If you want me to read them, I will, but I always feel stupid reading all those. Whereas, Rob can read them.
I can read them?
Yeah, you can read them.
You want me to
Oh,
read
do
them?
we have to?
Well, I mean,
I just-
so they know what they're agreeing to. You just have to read that. Yeah, that on the front.
Give it to the guy that needs glasses. Let's see, this is the water shortage response plan. Whereas the North Carolina General Statute 143-3551 requires that each unit of local government that provides public water service in each large community water system shall develop and implement water conservation measures to respond to drought or other water shortage conditions as set out in a water shortage response plan and submitted to the department for review and approval. And whereas, as required by the statute, and in the interest of sound local planning, a water shortage response plan for the town of Fontana Dam has been developed and submitted to the town of Fontana Dam Council for approval. Whereas the town of Fontana Dam Council finds that the water shortage response plan is in accordance with the provisions of North Carolina General Statute 143-355, and that it will provide appropriate guidance for the future management of water supplies for Fontana Dam, as well as useful information to the Department of the Environment and Natural Resources for the development of a state water supply plan as required by statute. Now therefore, be it resolved by the town of Fontana Dam Council that the water shortage response plan entitled Water Shortage Response Plan, Town of Fontana Dam, North Carolina, dated March 15th, 2023, is hereby approved and shall be submitted to the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Division of Water Resources. And be it further resolved that the Town of Fontana Dam Council intends that this plan shall be revised to reflect changes in relevant data and projections at least once every 5 years, or as otherwise requested by the department in accordance with statute and sound planning practice.
So do we have a motion?
So, motion to approve the water shortage response plan,
I put in a motion
Made
to
by
approve the
Rachel.
water shortage plan.
water shortage response plan, or WSRP here. Rachel makes a motion, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Thank you so much, motion carries. Once again, whereas and therefore, whereas North Carolina General Statute 143-355 requires that each unit of local government provides public water service or that plans to provide public water service in each large community water system shall, either individually or together with other units of local government and large community water systems, prepare and submit a local water supply plan. And whereas, as required by the statute and in the interest of sound local planning, a local water supply for the town of Fontana Dam water plant has been developed and submitted to the Fontana Dam Town Council for approval. And whereas the Fontana Dam Town Council finds that the local water supply plan is in accordance with provisions of North Carolina General Statute 143-355, and that it will provide appropriate guidance for the future management of water supplies for Fontana Dam Water Plan, as well as useful information to the Department of Environmental Quality for the development of a state water supply plan as required by statute. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the Fontana Dam Town Council of the Town of Fontana Dam Water Plant that the local water supply plan entitled Fontana Dam Local Water Supply Plan dated April 19th, 2022 is hereby approved and shall be submitted to the Department of Environmental Quality, Division of Water Resources. And be it further resolved that the Town of Fontana Dam Town Council intends that this plan shall be revised to reflect changes in relevant data and projections at least once every 5 years or as otherwise requested by the department in accordance with the statute and sound planning practices. So do I have a motion to approve the local water supply plan?
Make a motion to approve the water supply plan.
Thank you, Schwab. Water supply plan motion approval, all in favor?
Aye.
So one resolution saying that you have a plan, but that's the other.
Yeah.
The plan is the resolution.
Yeah. Well, the local water supply plan is more based on, the water coming out of Fontana, or coming out of the, dam. And, the water shortage is based on, because that water isn't coming out of the dam anymore. You know, because, and a lot of that's because so many, places are dried up now, you know, there's a lot of places out in the Midwest and California and places like that, that their water is getting. Yeah. Yeah, well, probably a little bit more so right now, but still, along those same lines, you know, so.
Business license ordinance.
Okay, so this came about actually today, so I haven't done any research into it, I don't know a whole lot about it, but, I was talking, to a person on the phone that is very smart about these kind of things, and I asked if it was something that, the town could even do. So what that means is that if somebody comes in here, a contractor, and does business here, that they would have to come and get a business license from the town. So that would be a way that the town can maybe generate some revenue, you know, which is what we need to be doing anyway, is trying to figure out another way to bring in more money into our budget and into our stuff. So, you know, so that would be even to the point of like, the landscapers and people that mow, because they're contract workers, that they would have to get a business license or, you know, here through the town. And, I don't know what the cost, I mean, like, I don't know anything about charging or any of that yet, but I wanted to bring it before you guys to see if he's even interested in me doing something like that, trying to figure something out like that.
I like it.
You know, I mean, we got to think outside the box. So.
I think that the number and the potential, amount will kind of dictate whether or not it's worth our while or not, because we, you know, in a normal place, you'd have a lot of business and you probably have a lot of licenses.
Right.
Not so much here, I suppose. Right, right. Yeah, that's what I mean. We're looking at generating $500 to $1,000 or more. You know, we had actually discussed some other things about, you know, is it possible sales tax?
Operate, you know, would businesses be able to operate within the town of Fontana without the approval of the Fontana Village Resort? That would be a big thing, right?
Well, I don't know, that's a very interesting thought, because the town and the resort are on this, are the same boundaries, so it's not like the town owns its own property.
Right.
So, the possibility of that being, no, probably not, because if they don't approve of it, then, you know, they actually own the lease, so, you know, I mean, they
So
could.
that would be like guided outfitters or anything like that would also be.
Yeah, anybody that came in here under any other umbrella. Huh?
Shuttle service, tax
Shuttle
shuttles.
services.
Yeah, if you want to pick somebody up here, if you want to pick them up off property, different sort of deal, but on property, well,
Other hospitals are using our facilities to slide pack folks, we ain't receiving any of that money. So I think that's a very valid.
it at least is a discussion point, you know, whether or not, you know, we can consider it ourselves. You know, we've got a lot of things we need to try to iron out via conversation. You know, with the resort, what is their kind of intent, to service this or to service that, or to plan for this or to plan for that?
I just would kind of like to see us move beyond what they think of as the department of the resort into what we are, which is the town of Fontana. And if we can do that by creating other, kinds of revenue income, and even though we are very limited in the fact that we don't have property, and the boundaries are the same as a resort, there, I think with some creative thinking, we might be able to at least establish some sort of an identity, maybe that's not just resort.
We've got a,
I agree with that.
we've got a number of thoughts, we've got a number of irons we're gonna kind of throw in the fire, see if it can maybe materialize into something, depending on kind of the way things could go. But we're just trying to develop some alternatives, because we don't want to be dependent on a bunch of handouts and a bunch of fees. We want to try to be proactive in developing money for the town, maybe using the TDA to help us develop some revenue streams as well.
Sounds like a sit down, something kind of thing.
Yeah. And so we don't really want to talk about it too much. We're just, I think it was just, we're brainstorming. So if we got to find out the legal parameters, we don't really know exactly what we can and can't do. So we have an idea, we run it by folks, we figure out, is it feasible, is it doable, is it not? And we kind of move forward, or we present the idea to the council, and we kind of go from there. Something else that had been mentioned by your son, since we're talking other discussion points here, he mentioned the possibility of the water tower down there, the intermediate water tank. He mentioned the possibility of painting something on it. And I said, while I think that would be an interesting idea, I think a more pressing possibility would be the building that's adjacent to it that is kind of in disrepair. Potentially renovating it a little bit, just kind of getting it up to a decent standard, and then potentially coming up with some kind of mural for that. I asked him, if he can work on a sketch and present it to Zella and I, we can kind of go from there, and then eventually, I think, we kind of be a little bit of a committee there. And then once we kind of had something we thought the council would be interested in, then we could present it from there to the council for some discussion.
One of my concerns right off the bat is they did the same thing in Silva, and the guy fell off the ladder and broke his arm while he was doing it. So insurance or liabilities, like who's?
Well, we have all that kind of stuff. We do have all of it, all of our property that we have that's in the town's name has, property liability on there.
The good thing is this is a one-story building.
Yeah.
So hopefully, now, if he were to do the water plant, the water tower, now that's a little bit.
Yeah, that might be a little bit.
But the thinking is, murals and things like that are a pretty hot thing. I mean, we saw a number of murals over in Damascus. That was one of the things on the ATC building and the adjacent buildings. There was some pretty cool murals. So, fishing.
And a lot of people that are on vacation like taking pictures and
Yeah.
things like that.
So
Which draws more people.
Oh, yeah. that's
making
fair.
something that's,
Yeah, that's big.
it's adjacent to the road. It's not, it's a bit of an eyesore right now. So trying to maybe improve that area down there generally, whether it's a mural, whether it's improving the building slightly, whether it's a little bit of landscape. A little could go a long way down there.
Right. Yeah.
Mural on the side of somewhere else would be more feasible than paint that on red, or there's, you get like a 2-second glance at it, you really need to stop, check it out.
But that would make people go back because there's a pull-off right in front of it.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, hey, what was that? And they.
Well, another spot could potentially be, and this was almost more advanced thought process, the downstairs of the water plant, that big concrete foundation. Imagine if you had that looking like an aquarium or something. Oh.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
That would-
yeah, like kind of, yeah, like the Fontana Lake, an aquarium of the aquatic species within the lake, a giant catfish sitting at the bottom just waiting to eat you.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Actually, I like that idea better than I do the building down there. you know?
Well, I kind of think the building would be kind of a cut your teeth sort of, because that's a large, if you go down there and look at it, that's a big old wall.
Yeah.
As far as
But it would
fish.
be nice too if the mural was more kind of like things you find local, like
Right,
Cherokee native stuff,
right.
the fishing,
Yeah,
the
what
dance,
types of
you know, just all somehow
Sure. Something kind of,
complimenting each other where it doesn't look like a bunch of,
Yeah, things thrown together.
yeah.
yeah, some creative, a little bit of abstractness, but also some, actual, I don't know what the opposite of abstract is. I guess it's reality or realism, yeah, realism and abstract kind of blended together.
Yeah. I like
I'm not an artist, I will say that up front.
Jeff just needs to put that together for us.
So anyway, that's out there. I mentioned it to her.
Okay, so that's another bad.
I guess that he maybe had mentioned it to you at some point or not?
No.
He kind of hollered at me one day when I was getting out of the truck and I was like, yeah, sure. I mean,
I do like that.
He's got a lot of ideas.
I like that.
Good luck by throwing out there. It's wicked.
Yeah.
It's cool.
all right. Any other things you want to discuss?
Well, I brought it up yesterday in that TDA meeting, but for everyone who wasn't there, I had organized, starting to organize a hike for mental health, which is a fundraiser thing. It's gonna be in, George Gilmer, 501 nonprofit, and it's pretty much 100% of proceeds raised will be going towards, 100% of it goes towards the charitable funds, 80% of it goes towards Brain Research Foundation, and 20% is gonna go towards trail maintenance. And I wanted to make sure if we could, direct that towards our local hiking group that sponsors us as a trail town. So Oxman would get whatever supplies that they would need, things like that. But I was able to pull it. It's pretty much an online thing right now. This is the PDF poster that we designed that I haven't made copies of yet, but this is pretty much what it's gonna be if you wanted.
What did you say, a donation or how much is it?
It's donation. It's pretty much organizing everybody come out to hike. And if you want to throw, there's no minimum, there's no requirement to. It's just sign up to hike, show up. Hopefully we raise some funds. I'm going to be contacting VCO, Innovation, all the business owners that I know pretty much in Bryson and out towards Silva, things like that, and raising some funds hopefully. And probably going over to Outdoor 76 and Lazy Hiker and all the other outfitters that are in the area. Anybody that has anything to help stay position. And I'm gonna ask I'm gonna hopefully ask local churches to get involved as well, see if they can make donations. And motivate their people to do it, because I know that like Joyce Gilmer.
Oh,
Yeah, just doing Joyce Gilmer, 1.8 miles. My little brother's schizophrenic and he has been through a lot of, there's not a lot for mental health patients, and where there's a stigma against mental health too. And so the whole purpose behind all this is like to pretty much at the top of it, share the joy of hiking, bring hope to those battling mental illness. And pretty much 1 in 4 people these days suffer from some sort of mental something or other. So I think it's just a worthy thing to like bring awareness to this area, to get more people from outside of here involved in Graham County, to get us doing something in the hiking world, because I kind of want to like do something here because I don't really see it happening. So I'm going to spearhead something myself. Sure. Because I'm a hiker guy, I'm a trail guy. So I really, the peace that it brings me when I'm out in the woods is indescribable. And I know that thousands of other hikers will agree with that. And millions of other people will agree with that, whether or not they're a hiker. Just being out in the woods will bring peace.
Right.
It's like being beside a creek. Being beside a 500-year-old virgin forest tree is amazing,
Well, kind of like that, it definitely centers you and brings clarity into your life, about your purpose or your place in this world.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here thinking like, there was no white people in this area when this tree was established.
No,
Right. That's
yeah.
mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
in
all
scopes
it was
of
all
art,
they.
And then I think like, wow, this tree was gonna be a canoe. Wow. So anyways, I want to help, I guess, spread awareness of, I don't know, in a world where we don't have much to turn to for mental health. I mean, like, I know with my
my brother, my personal situation, there's no place in which you can go. There's no really homes that you can go to without it being like a lockdown gangbanger type thing, you know, and our solution for mental health these days is medicate them and ostracize them and criminalize them for the most part, and that's not a solution. And I think we need to end that stigma and hopefully bring more compassion and awareness, and if I can help do that through organizing a hike, I'll do it.
It used to be institutionalized, but I think they figured out that was inhumane, so
Well, it's cost too much money.
that and that too.
It costs too much money.
Under the
Take
guise
care
of
of people.
humanity,
So,
the cost was a big.
Yeah.
so I've been down the block a few times.
With paranoid schizophrenia.
Yeah.
They hear voices and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and medication's come a long way, but it's still like, where it's going. Anyways, I don't want to get off on a mental health, I guess, tangent, but.
No, but I
also
think
we're so
everybody
related
has
to this.
somebody in their family that has, whether it's depression, anxiety, paranoia, schizophrenia, I think everybody has.
Oh, yeah, at least you know somebody. Yeah, at least know somebody.
So the hike is when?
I'll-
Which is what day?
It's on a Saturday.
Okay, August 4th on a Saturday.
August 4th or 5th?
The fifth is
Yeah,
Saturday,
sorry.
yeah.
August 4th Saturday, that's right, because that was right.
Yes.
We talked about that. And then if somebody wants to donate, out there, is there a?
There's a website, so pretty much like it's, just like it would be one of those things, 50 push-up kind of things where you click on it and go to the website, sign up, enter in however much you want to donate.
So can they get there from the Hike for Mental Health,
Yes, the
page?
website. Yeah,
So-
so this is already created, and if you get on.
So what is the website
Yeah,
though?
you like Lambo Dark Soul.
Okay,
Hikeformentalhealth.org, I'm trying to put it out there
yeah,
for the
so
folks
that may be-
here, and then you would look for the Joyce Kilmer hike?
Yeah, well, look for posters being up around Robbinsville and other places around soon too, and, I guess was gonna use my own money to print those out, but does anybody have an idea how much posters cost when you start printing colored things like that? Aren't they, they can get expensive, right?
I don't know, we can.
But I just figured that would be
It's a Fred or something,
part of
don't they do
mine.
stuff like that?
Yeah, that's the probably would.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've
And there's the
never.
print house, which is in Silva, but I think their turnaround time is the same as
It's
this.
the print.
Yeah.
Savnak in Robbinsville prints out posters. Savnak in Robbinsville.
Yeah,
prints
that's
out
right.
Good.
They-
I wanna-
they-
I'll probably use
posters.
those.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I forgot about that, yeah.
Well, that's just something I wanted to bring up as a thing that I'm doing, and I want to go out there. The more you prepare for the future, but we only have one more meeting for it, then it's.
What I like about that too, it also lets people know that do suffer from multiple different conditions, like bipolar, multiple personality disorder, borderline personality. I mean, there's so many out there with the posters and the hype that lets people know, hey, you're not alone. There's lots of other people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, I know that, there's a lot of soldiers every year that hike Appalachian Trail, and especially now we're seeing a huge uptick in soldiers coming back from like Afghanistan, Iraq, things like that. Bad PTSD. The first through hiker ever to hike was Earl Schaefer, and his best friend's killed in the Pacific, so he hiked to walk off of this PTSD from war. So it's always been a therapeutic thing was for the Appalachian Trail, but I didn't want to make it an Appalachian Trail specific thing, even though the group spurred from that. You know, I just think hiking trails is not just that Appalachian Trail.
Well, but you know, Joyce Kilmer, that loop and stuff, that kind of has, I don't know, it has a healing quality about it, if you
Therapeutic.
You know, it's very therapeutic up there. It's got, you know, because you got the water and you got, you know, all the different personalities of a forest is right there, and it's virgin lumber or timber, you know,
Make
stuff.
some charcoal for life. But anyways, good, just throwing that out there. And, more information, I got Friday and Saturday off, so that's Friday, I was pretty much done stuff. Starting to get with it.
Good job.
Anything else going on? Anybody else want to have anything on the other discussion out of there?
Heritage Festival's in a couple of weeks in Robbinsville.
Heritage Fest in a couple of weeks.
Like, 4th of July here, but, you know, everybody's having fireworks on 4th of July.
I know,
this year, so it's
yeah.
it's gonna be very weird how everything works out.
And I loved coming up here last year, but I'm actually emceeing the Heritage Festival this year, so I will be in Robbinsville. Yeah.
But they only had it like on, like, they never do it on the actual 4th, they do it like on weekends.
It's always been the weekend before. So, when I told them I could MC it, I'm like, oh, it's Saturday and a Sunday. Yeah, I'll be glad to. And then they're like, no, actually, we're doing it Monday and Tuesday. I'm like, oh, that's a disaster because
That's your busy.
that's
day.
deadline days to me.
Yeah,
That's-
today. And the fourth is on Tuesday, so.
Right.
you know.
So we're actually doing the paper a day early. So Monday I'll actually do production day that week. So we're closed.
Yeah.
So I would expect things are probably gonna be a little bit of a downturn over here, I would imagine, because normally
A lot of
everybody,
people come over here.
yeah, everybody kind of,
Yeah.
does it here, and then does it here, and then does it, somewhere else, and.
Now, I mean, even Swain, it's happening on the
Yeah, I saw that too.
So we're gonna, yeah, I don't know how that's gonna affect our business or anything. I mean, I think a lot of people go here just because they really enjoy, you're right there with the
Yeah.
fireworks,
It's not
basically. So,
It's scary.
you
Does not appreciate fireworks.
most animals
Well, it's
don't.
not.
Most dogs.
Well, last year we had 2 bears on property. Fireworks, like, they're gone after that.
Well, that's, we got 2 bears this year too, so maybe it'll be the same way, we'll get rid of them.
All right, so next meeting is gonna be, let's see.
Not tonight is the agenda.
I did,
indicates.
yeah, I didn't change that, did I? Sorry,
I saw that too.
yeah.
LGC is gonna be out here tomorrow about that.
I'm just figuring out.
Wednesday, looks like the 19th, July 19th. All right, so that on the counts, and I guess we'll have some budget amendments.
Yeah.
I don't know, at this point, that's about all I really know that we'll have on the agenda. All right, well, if that's it, we're gonna go ahead and adjourn, 7:01. Thank you so much.